Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how I like to cut an A-line bob with lots of texture and movement and something that's going to look really cute. So to start off with, you want to make sure that you're starting off with wet hair. I always like to start off with wet, and then once you've dried it, then you can see like how it lays, so that way you can know if you need to like take off any more anywhere. But so you always want to make sure that it's nice and straight. When you actually blow dry it too, you want to make sure that it's nice and straight then too. That way you're cutting things exactly how they should be. So to start off with, you can either part their hair where they normally do, or in this instance, I'm going to part it in the middle. For most times with haircuts that are short like this, I like to part in the middle. That way I know it's going to be nice and consistent. So that way, even if they like flop it over to one side, I know that everything that I've cut is nice and symmetrical. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to part her down the middle. Mannequin's hair does not like to part straight. So, and then for this look, I'm going to be using 3 different types of shears. I am going in with my swivel shears. These are what I do for most of my cutting. I like just normal shears that are going to do my point cutting, and then I'm going in with my texturizing shears. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going in with my alligator clip. I'm going to be starting off in the back. I am going to be starting off with about this much hair. This is about 1.5 inches. And I'm going to be sectioning all of the rest of this up and out of my way. Then I'm going to be going in with my swivel shears. And you want to make sure that when you're cutting the back sections, that they're tipping their head very far forward. Because if they're not, when they do, they're going to have a weird stack back here. So to minimize that and to get everything all nice and even, you're gonna have them tilt their head very far forward. You don't necessarily need to do this when you're cutting the sides, but the back for sure. So I'm gonna start off by taking a piece from the center. And when I like to do my bobs, or my A-lines, I like to kind of have them the same length right through here, and then taper as they start to go over the shoulder. I find that those tend to grow out the best. If it starts to angle too much through here, it almost looks like this piece was an accident, at least in my brain. So I'm gonna start off and I'm gonna place this hair directly right on the neck. That way I can get it to lay as flat as possible. Then I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna cut that. So you can see that's kind of how that lays. And then I'm going to do the same thing right through here. I'm going to make all this hair, all this. Do the same thing on this side. Trim off those. This is always the key, so that way you don't get any discrepancies. That way it's nice and even all along the board. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Pull this way, trim off. You want it straight from every angle. Put this way, trim that. And now, when you pull these down, they need to be the exact same length. Then I'm going to take the next section down and I'm going to follow my guide right through here. The texturizing process. I'm going to go in and I'm going to start point cutting. You want to be really mindful of how you are point cutting, because let's say I'm going all in like this and nice and straight. Straight is awesome. Straight does not really take out a lot of bulk through the bottom. So if you're wanting to remove excess bulk, you need to kind of go in at an angle, but you need to remember that short hair pushes long hair. So if I'm cutting like this, the hair is going to pull this way. If I cut like this all the way around here, the hair is gonna push like this. So you need to make sure that when you're cutting from both sides, like when you're going from both sides, that you're switching your angles. So that way the hair pushes the way that it should. So I'm gonna divide this in the middle. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna point cut this going this way. And then I'm gonna divide it in the middle on this side. And then I'm gonna point cut this way. And that is not something that like you're automatically gonna be like, whew, goes this way. Nope. Got those ends, I like to pull this out straight and then point cut those ends somewhere. This will break up that weight line, not make them feel like a triangle. Nobody wants that when they cut their hair short. Now that we've got that back, you can see right through here that she's got some soft movement. She's not gonna have any like weird, harsh, bulky lines. Once we dry this, we're gonna go in and layer it. That way we can see what places actually need it. Now we're gonna move on to our sides. Have them tip their head up just like normal. I like to section off a little bit above the ears. Section that up and out of your way. Then I'm going to go in with my swivel shears again. And you want to line up these points and line this up kind of like that. So that way there's no disconnections. So you're gonna take this like very first piece and you're gonna like create an angle with your finger like this. And then you're gonna take this, snip this, make sure that is a nice straight line. So then you're gonna take your next piece and you're gonna line that up with your two previous guides. Just like this. Front piece, line this up with your previous guide, and cut that. So this is kind of how that is going to look. Then you're going to take this, and you're going to make sure that everything lines up nice and straight. Then you're going to take your next section down. You want these sections to be a little thinner because you want to be able to see through them so you can see where you have previously cut. Too thick of sections, you're going to lose your guide and you're essentially going to end up with a wonky haircut. Go in, trim that to where that guide goes. Follow your fingers, trim off that. Follow your fingers, trim that. Take this down, another section. I told you her color was wonky. She got some purple and pink and blue in here. Take this down, follow your guide. You can see how that shape is forming nice and good. Then I'm going to point cut this right at the very end because I want to make sure everything is exactly how we want it before then. Normal shears. I take this and I'm just gonna point cut those ends just gently. Remember, this angle, short pushes long. Avoid that front piece right through there. Then take these scissors again, go through, we're gonna point cut the ends, although you want to drop out whoop, those very ends, so that way you're not cutting into your base length at all. Take those ends, point cut those, drop that down, move to the next section, drop out the underneath right through there. Ends, point cut those. Do the same thing right through here, leave out your front section. So, and point cut that, and we are done for a minute. So if you can see, as I mess this up a bit, that a lot of these hairs are moving this way. That means your point cutting is good. It all just kind of gradually pushes it that way. So you're going to repeat this exact same process on this side. However, when you are matching front sections, you do want to make sure that to start with, you're going to pull these two front sections forward. Make sure you're getting kind of the same amount. And got a little bit of framing on this side, I guess. And you're gonna just come home here and make sure that the lengths match. Okay, so before I start blow drying, I did put in the R&Co Repair Splash On Styler just to make her hair hopefully not so horrible as it dries. But I'm gonna go in with my Fabulous, don't even remember, I've had this for freaking years. So you always wanna make sure that you're using a concentrator, and when you're blow drying, you always wanna make sure that you're going down. If you at any point go up like this, well, at least on her ends, then you're gonna end up with a very fuzzy result. So I'm gonna be going in with, I love this round brush. This one is honestly my favorite. If they have a lot of like curl or very like stubborn underneath hairs, I do recommend I'm gonna go in and I am going to rough dry this until it's about 75% dry. Then I'm gonna go in and section off the hair again using my clip and then go in and blow dry or run brush everything. Oh, also I'm using this on medium heat. When I actually introduce my round brush, I'm gonna go in with hot heat so it sets this exactly the way I want it. See a little fuzzy right there, a little fuzzy that needs to be cut, but for the most part everything lays really nice. I'll show you her from the side and the back. But if you can see, she does need a little bit more texturizing because this almost has a kind of a triangle feel. It kind of puffs out right there a little bit, which is to be expected because we did blow dry it like nice and under, but we are going to go in and texturize this a bit so that way it lays even better. So we're going to come back in to the back here and I'm going to go in with these shears a little bit, and you can see her underneath there was not quite long enough for us to be able to blow dry, so we're going to tilt her forward and I'm going to go in and kind of pull this hair out. Texturize that just a little bit more. Going in at more of a straighter angle. Okay. There we go. Then go in with these shears. And we're mainly going to be texturizing through her mids and her ends. That's just going to help this lay a lot softer. Whenever you're doing short hair like this, you really want to make sure that you're putting in plenty of texture. Even if, let's say, they don't really love layers, this look would be perfect. Like, they're not really getting layers in this, they're just getting some texture. But you want to make sure that you're adding at least something in here so that way their hair's not going to feel so crazy bulky. So that definitely helps that a lot. We'll do the same thing through our sides. what I'm doing right now is essentially making her not feel or look like a triangle. Because I've had my hair cut really short with basically no layering, and I looked like a triangle. So it is now my mission to make nobody ever look like a triangle. Nice shaping in there. So you can see now this lays nice and smooth. If they're wearing their hair straight, curly, whatever, they're not gonna have any weird lines. It's just merely to add in a little bit of texture, a little bit of movement, but nothing too crazy. So I'm gonna start here in the sides. I'm gonna leave these front ones alone. Unless they necessarily want face framing, then I would not layer these front pieces. Because if you layer these, try some nuts that like these are even. If you layer the front pieces, it's going to kind of mess up this whole angle that you've got going, because it would be an angle and then all of a sudden it would go up like this. So I would avoid doing that unless they specifically want it, or like they have bangs or something like that. Then you can kind of connect them if you feel like you need to. But I'm going to start in here a little bit, and I'm going to essentially just take this out like this, and I'm just going to trim right through here, right at an angle through there. So that way it looks like this, and this way when it falls, you won't be able to see any weird lines. This, layer right through the ends. And if they have really thick hair, you can do this layer by layer if you feel like, but her hair is not overly thick, so I don't necessarily need to do this. Are nice and even. So once you finish this, you are ready to style. If they have very, very thick hair, or they're going to be growing this out for a while and they don't necessarily like round brush their hair all the time, or like use a flat iron or anything like that, what you can do is go in right on like these underneath hairs and either take them a little bit shorter, or I do have a couple people where we actually like use our clippers and just like do a little bit of a baby undercut right underneath there. So that way it lays nice as they grow out, so that way those baby hairs aren't like poking out funny. But I would educate your clients on how to like properly round brush their hair, so that way they can get this kind of a sleek look to it, or show them how to like best do it when using a flat iron, and that'll help a ton. But I'm gonna go in, give her just some loose waves through here to show you how I would do that. I'm going in with my Nano Titanium 1-inch curling iron. Start off with these front sections. One thing you want to remember with short hair is you want to curl this a little bit differently, because if you curl all the way through the ends on every single piece, she's going to lose a lot of that length. So I'm going to kind of pull out right on those front ends, so that way she doesn't all of a sudden lose like 2 inches. And with this type of a haircut, it's also best to not like start your curls super up high, because that's going to kind of push out your layers more and kind of make you feel more full. But if you want that like sleek looking curled bob, start kind of through the mids and the ends and keep the ends nice and straight like this. So you can see there's not too much of a length difference between the two, which is super nice. This is just going to give her some very loose texture in here. And one thing that's nice is with this type of a length, with the back, you don't necessarily have to curl everything because some pieces are A, too short, and B, if you curl things that are too short, it's hard to get them going like the same direction that you want them to, so they're gonna kind of poke out funny. So with the last little end hairs on, okay, then you can use hairspray, texture spray, whatever you want to use. I'm using a little bit of my Unite texture spray. Then just a tiny bit of my Unite blonde oil. Scrunching this a little bit through the ends. And then taking my fingers and just kind of messing this up. So this is what we ended up with, a textured, angled bob. This is our final result. Super cute, super messy.